Okay, so let's talk about a brand new class, right? Which is so exciting. It's all about managing expectations. And today we're going to talk about a component of that, which is what we call the communication plan. This is an advanced class. This class assumes that two things, really. You have been through our listing conversion class, which you have. Sometimes it's called like the seller system or a complete seller system. Those are one and the same. And then secondly, it assumes that you have a listing or you're about to get a listing and that you are sitting at your seller's house having the actual listing conversation with them.
Awesome. I have a listing appointment on Monday. So this is
okay, perfect. So you know how important it is to include this part of the overall conversation and how important it is not only to establish the framework for what we like to call those win-win relationships and let them know kind of, hey, this is how things are going to go. This is all about what you need and what you want, and I'm here to help you get that. We also have to talk about price in that conversation and all the fun things that go along with that, but you also can understand why the expectations in terms of roles that each of you have, right, and each of us, but also understanding what the expectation is with marketing, understanding what the expectation is with communication. To me, that could be one thing. To you, it could be something completely different. And so that is kind of where this class was born. And you know from having attended that class many times that it's not only enough anymore to sort of establish those expectations, but also to gain agreement with the seller each step of the way. So that's kind of an overview of what we're going to talk about today. You know that I like to start this way, and I do it intentionally. It's our mission and our vision as a company, and I do it so one, you know who we are and what we envision as a company, but also to get you thinking about what your mission is and what your vision is. It could change. What your mission was a year ago, it could be completely different than what it is today, and that's okay. They can evolve. But it's good to kind of challenge yourself to think about what is the mission that I have? What's my life vision? What do I want for myself and for my family? When you do that, you gain clarity. And with clarity comes the ability to better plan. And part of that plan is figuring out what steps, what actions do I need to take? And repeated action over time then becomes a habit. Habits can greatly influence one way or the other how successful or not successful we're going to become. Well, it might be. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Hello. Yes, Danielle. I'm good. How are you? No worries. I totally get it. Everybody's busy right now.
Hi. What are you doing? Where are you?
I'm at home. I'm turning on the light. Sorry.
Are you at the beach?
No, I'm at home, but I'm running very behind today, and so I couldn't get there. Truthfully, like I've been packing. We're going back to Crystal Beach. We're going to Crystal Beach this weekend, and I cooked all morning, and I've been busy, and I'm going to houses right after this, and so I just figured it'd be easier.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad you're online.
Are you empty?
No, so Stacy, it's so funny that you're timing because Stacy's in here and I was meeting with somebody over lunch today and I was like, hey, I would love for you to call this person because I really think she would benefit from hearing about your experience, as a new agent coming in. Hey, and so of course she called it right in the middle as soon as we got started. So Stacy was like, let me go get it. And so she stepped out and then Amy just came in.
Who called Stacy?
So it's a friend of mine. She's a realtor, and her name is Danielle. Do you remember me telling you that this is one that I had reached out to, and she broke my heart and went to EXP? Do you remember me telling you that?
A long time. It's been a while.
Yeah, like probably 2 months or so. Anyway, I reached out to her yesterday because I've been staying in touch with her, just like checking on her and everything. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, you have the best timing." She was like, I just met with Berkshire Hathaway today. This was like day before yesterday. I was like, let's go to lunch on Friday. So we did, and we probably talked for an hour, and it was a good talk. So hopefully she'll think about it and talk it over. And
Called Stacy to get her feedback. Is that what?
no, so I told Stacy, I was like, listen, I am going to put you on the spot, but I would love for you to call this girl and just tell her about your experience, you know, because they're very similar. I mean, they are very cautious, and, you know, they want to do things the right way, and, you know, they need a hug. And so it was just a really good match. And so Stacy was like, I'd love to call her. And so Stacy is on the phone with her right now. So yeah.
But y'all need to recruit that Stacy. She needs to recruit that girl. Not yours, Kristen, but who, Stacy?
She stepped out.
Oh, you need to recruit McFarland is her last name. Parrish, is it Lindsay? I don't know. I met her, I've known her brother, but she's very well connected in Beaumont, and she went with Keller Williams, and she's not super happy, and she's a good, like, she's a hard worker. She would be
Is
good.
that who y'all met last night?
Yes.
Okay, so she told me about her a little bit.
Yes. You need, I mean, like, that's somebody that would be, like, she's not going to stay at Keller Williams. Like, she's not happy. But we sat at the table with Jamie Hensley.
Yeah.
And I think that was Jeanette, what is her last name? Jeanette, her husband's a builder. Anyway, she works for American, and she got Jamie to sit at the table, and I know for sure they're going to hard recruit her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I don't think that girl is going to necessarily definitely go there. She probably knows me and Stacy better than any of them.
Yeah.
So we influence her to come here, but she's already like Facebook friended me and is like, we need to go to lunch. And so I think she's going to be somebody anyway. Just
okay, good. Well, maybe we can reach out to her.
Yeah.
Okay, so just so you guys know, because this is a new course, it is being recorded on Zoom, which is great. That way I can archive it into our library and back agent. So yeah, y'all haven't missed anything. We just got started. As you know, I always start with our mission and our vision. One, so you know who we are, but secondly, so you think about what your mission and what your vision statements should be for your own life and for your business. I think with that comes a lot of clarity, and clarity is something that I feel like all of us can benefit from, because when you have clarity, it allows you to plan. And when you can plan, then you can do a step-by-step process or system that'll get you closer to where you want to be in terms of reaching your goals. And when you take those actions every day and you do them consistently, and you do them in a way that you have some intentional, some proactive oomph behind it, I think that you can only get closer and closer to your goals rather than just sort of sitting back and waiting on something to happen. It's easier to go out there, make a plan, and then attack it. So our mission is to empower you. That's the whole reason why our company is here. It's to empower our agents so that we can create those opportunities for you guys to live an abundant life. And I love this. RE/MAX actually came out with a statement similar to this year. It was a few months ago, but they said that we are in the business of building businesses. And I love that. It's not about anything else other than you. And I think that's important. And so our vision, we want to be the home for ethical, foremost, high-minded and motivated professional people. There is a difference between someone who does this just because they want to, and then somebody who is truly a professional in real estate. We actually talked about this in our mastermind in both groups yesterday. We talked about how important it is to be the professional no matter where you are and in whatever setting you're in. I think that it's going to absolutely make a difference. And the way that you can demonstrate that or communicate that in our industry is in the way that you handle the person in front of you, in the way that you approach the person in front of you, in the way that you look, in the way that you sound, in the way that you communicate with them. It can really make all the difference in the world. So motivated professionals who are committed, that's a big one, all in, right, to achieving what they want, both on a personal level, but also on a professional level. And I love that because it's considering the whole person. It's not just you, the realtor, And it's not just, hey, what are you going to do? It's the person. It's you as a person, you as a professional. Those things, for me anyway, they overlap. So when you talk about the mission and the vision, you also have to sort of take into account those values, because to me, the values are sort of those foundations that everything else is built upon. And so again, these are our company values, but ask yourself, what are mine? What are my values? What are those things that I want everything else to sort of flow from? And then normally you guys would see a whole list of beliefs here on this page, but I really simplified it for you today because I think that these are some that we don't talk about very often. These are company beliefs. These are some of our core beliefs. If you've ever read our manifesto, or if you've ever seen our expanded version of our core values and beliefs, you would see these. The first one is that conflict, and I want you guys to tell me if you agree or disagree, conflict only occurs when mutual expectations differ. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
I totally agree with this. And this is the essence of our class today. This is our key belief that's really going to fuel why we're even having this class to begin with. If I have anything to tell you guys that I've heard consistently over the last probably 4 to 6 weeks, is that expectations and communication, those two things together, if at any point those things start to weaken, whether it's on our side with our client or with the other agent or their client, what happens? It is chaos. Ashley, you dealt with this. You understand how important it is when you don't have somebody on the other side who can openly communicate with you, good or bad, and you understand the ramifications that come from that. So I 100% agree with this. The second belief, our key belief, if I don't have my own plan, I will be a part of someone else's. What does that mean to you? If I don't have my own plan, I will be a part of someone else's.
Is Stacy back in there?
No, not yet.
I told her the other day, and it stands true. If you don't make up your own agenda for the day even, then you're going to end up doing whatever anybody calls you to do. If you don't have your own.
That's it.
And the same thing with the deal. If you don't have, it lined out how this deal is going to go, then it's going to be a shit show.
That's exactly right. Yep, so good. You guys are right on the same page with me. So let's keep going. I'm going to ask you a pretty theoretical, abstract question because while it's seemingly very simple, it is not that easy to answer. So what is communication? What is it?
It's just a dialogue.
Does it always have to be a dialogue? Okay. So when I say communication, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Just a conversation.
Expectations.
Okay, expectation. Why?
Because sometimes communication is what you don't tell them. And then it sets up bad expectations because you didn't tell them.
Right.
Or you gave them an impression of something that wasn't accurate.
Yes. Yeah. And you guys will probably agree with this too. We can't ever assume anything anymore. What my assumption of that other agent on the other side maybe is not always going to be what's going to go down, right? I can't just assume that you got the email that I sent you. I need to take it one step further and make sure that you got that email that I sent you. And so like I said, this has come up so much in accountability groups and masterminds. And I think there's a couple of different factors here, but we'll get to that in a second. Communication, I feel like it can be many different things to many different people. So it's very, very important, like Ashley said, to establish what the expectation is from your point of view, but also to communicate what your expectation of them is from your point of view. But that's still not enough. You have to be able to gain agreement with that person sitting across from you. So that way you guys start on the same page, you stay on the same page, you end up on the same page. It sort of eliminates the whole trial and error thing. when it's expressly stated at the very beginning, okay? And and so before you guys came in, I told Stacy, this is an advanced course. This class assumes a couple of different things. One, meaning you've been through our listing conversion class, which is it's also called like the complete seller system or seller system. That's one in the same class. It assumes that, but secondly, this also assumes that you are at a seller's house having a listing conversation, okay? So that's sort of the backstory behind where we are. Okay, so communication, right? It's not enough just to have it. It's also that much more important to gain agreement with the person sitting across from you, because it eliminates the trial and error. Oh, you don't read your emails every day? Okay, there's no backtracking, or it at least greatly reduces the amount of backtracking that you would have to do throughout the deal. Okay, so as a recap, really quickly, this should not be foreign to you. This is present in our listing conversion class. These are the 5 stages of converting a listing, and I'm sharing it with you guys so that you can understand where the communication plan is going to fit into this. Okay, so you guys know that the system, and just so you guys know too, this right here, these 5 stages, this is a system. Okay, so if you were unsure, what do I do first? You would just work your way down this page. Okay, so kicking off our system, it starts with asking those pre-listing questions. And that's sort of, you've heard me say, kind of getting to know the seller, but also getting to know the property. So, how long have you lived here? Are you the sole owner of the home? How many bedrooms? How many baths? That kind of thing. Just to kind of give you a framework and a baseline so that you know what you're working with. Yeah, so in the workbook, that's the listing conversion workbook, all of the questions in the form of I think it's called the pre-listing questionnaire. It's in there. So it starts with asking those questions. Then it'll help you kind of get a baseline on price ranges. I can go either way on this. Some agents do pricing as a first and only meeting, the first and only listing conversation. Others do a two-part process. So they go out, they don't talk numbers at all, they get to know the seller, they get to know what the seller wants, they tour the property, they go back, they do their pricing, they visit the seller again to go through the pricing. I don't think there's any real wrong way to do this. I just think that you do what you need to do to where you feel the most confident and in a way that your seller can understand it.
Yeah. I think sometimes it depends on how well you know your seller.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like with some that I'm close friends with and I know their house is nice, it's not we can have that, you know what I mean, honest without coming in. I mean, you want to be honest with everybody. But some of them you'll come in and you're like, this is not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to have to regroup and
you do
look at new numbers.
That's a good point. Okay, so you'll kind of get a price range, or if you're doing it all in one, you'll narrow it down to a price. You'll confirm the appointment with them. You'll prepare the listing agreement. Yes. Yeah, she came in whenever you stepped out.
Hey girl, hey.
You'll get in the right frame of mind, or getting on the listing channel, as David would like to say. And then of course you'll arrive on time. So very important. So let's get into the guts of this, right? So you guys know, after having been through the conversion course, these are the 3 key messages that you need to deliver through the course of the conversation that you're going to have. And we are very, very specific in the way that we have this conversation, in that it is not a presentation. You hear that a lot in the industry. Oh, here's the best way to do your listing presentation, or here's how you need to do your presentation with this seller. No, it's a conversation. Why are conversations more effective than a presentation?
Because involvement on both sides.
Yeah, true exchange, right? A true exchange of information and opinions and feelings, all of which could impact a whole transaction.
You know, they're paying attention to what you're saying rather than just,
Totally. So the first key message that you want to deliver is setting the tone, or creating the boundaries for that win-win relationship, okay? The second thing that you're going to go through is the seller's goals, the plans and strategies that you're going to implement to help get them there, okay? So this is where you uncover and you help your seller to prioritize their needs. And the big one is they need to sell their house, but that shouldn't be, I guess is a better way to say it, where that conversation should stop. That's understood. Otherwise, they wouldn't have you there in front of them. It's understood that they want to sell what your job should be, and what really can put you here, compared to here, is that you help them to uncover what are the things that would make it possible for you to exceed their expectations. You know, is it that you need to be out of here in like 60 days? Is it that you feel like you need to walk away from closing with X amount of dollars? Is it that you just want to be rid of it and that's all you care about? It's up to us through a series of questions throughout this conversation to be able to get that out of them.
You know, I like, and you said it the other day in one of the classes, and I really think to also maybe write those down.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because now I'm seeing, like, you know, some of them change as you go, but so to me, to have that like with them and write it down, or maybe even have them sign it, like, these were what was important to you then. If you change them, you got to let me know, because this is what
And that
I'm
goes
you know.
right back to that communication. It goes right back to those expectations, and it goes right back to never assume anything.
Yeah.
Because if they're assuming that you know what they need and it's never been discussed, then how can you meet their needs?
Exactly.
Right? And it goes right back to, like you say, that you're working with the buyer. And the buyer's like, well, I want to go and look at houses. Well, how are we going to know what you even need or what you want if we haven't talked about it?
Yeah.
And why would I show you 50 houses that may not meet your needs versus just having a 1 hour discussion where I can pinpoint exactly what you need and want in your next property?
Yeah.
So I think it goes all through it. I really do.
Yeah, totally. Because I find they get more, as far as time or urgency becoming, you know,
Yeah.
once they get it on there and start having people know, their urgency always picks up a little bit. You know what I mean? So to have that, you know, you said this, and that's why we priced it at this, and not, you know, but I think it's so good. When you said that the other day, I was like, why did I not think about that?
You're a genius,
You know?
because it really, that goes back to gaining agreement and using something in a visual way that you can point back to that's tangible, that you guys discussed and agreed upon together. That's why we do pricing the way that we do pricing. It's not just about pulling a giant CMA and saying, here, good luck. It's about simplifying it and making sure that they can self-discover on their own where their home should be priced, so that they can't say, well, Stacey, you told me that it was supposed to be priced at $400, and what the heck, it isn't selling. Well, no, we looked at the facts together, and that's what our market has proven that it can be done. So it's not just you pulling something out of thin air. It's you guys looking at the data together and making an informed and an intelligent decision based on it.
So what I found convenient on one of my last listings was I did a net sheet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's always so
Like, well, not even whenever, so we haven't gotten any offers on it to show him what he could possibly get in return. But no, I priced it as, what do you want out of it? If you want this amount of money in return, then we need to price it for this amount.
Yeah.
It was just like, this is awesome, we have to do it.
I think you always need a best case scenario and worst case scenario.
Yeah, I
What
agree.
is your bottom line that you can, you know what I mean? Before we start cutting it away, if you have to, if you want it, especially if you want to price
Like, we
high.
established
you
the
know.
fact that he did not need to sell his property.
Yeah.
He just wanted to sell it. So he wasn't expecting a quick return, a quick sell.
Yeah.
So that's why we priced it at what we did.
Mhm.
Well, and I think too, and I agree with what you're saying, you know, you want to make sure that you're 100% clear on here's the sort of the spectrum in any which direction this could go. But I think too, when it comes to price, it's so much more important to have the justification. Meaning, can you defend the list price? Can you justify it? Because ultimately, if you can't, and for whatever, say that it doesn't trade or it sits there forever, and then what his original goal was is no longer his original goal, then it becomes an issue of, oh boy, where's that credibility? Are we on a slippery slope now? Are we going to have to reduce it 100 times?
Yeah.
You know, so we talk about that in our pricing series about how very important it is not only to be able to justify or defend your list price, but also to communicate that and show them in a logical way why certain homes have the values that certain homes have.
You know, I also think, and just say, for the range with the net, like talking about how important it is, because going in for, especially with a house, the land may be a little different, but
Yeah.
to know how much wiggle room you have for repairs
Yeah.
or closing cost assistance.
Yeah.
Before they even hit you with it, you wanna know, okay, I can give you
What
maybe
can I
3,000,
give?
or, yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I can't give you a full 6%, yeah, because it's hard to regroup when you're in the moment, but especially
It
if you get lucky and get a couple of them.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I mean, that's obvious.
Okay, so introduction, review, comparison sheets, we talked about that. So now our third message, and probably one of the most important, is roles and expectations, okay? So this is where we talk about your role and my role, and that should be pretty familiar for you guys because it's in our listing conversion class and the buyer conversion class. So this is part of the dialogue where we say, you know, here's everything that I feel like I can expect from you as my partner in the transaction, and then here's everything that I feel like you can expect from me as your agent or as your consultant throughout this process. So that's the roles and expectations part, your role, my role. But the other two things that we talk about are the marketing plan, okay? But also the communication plan, which is what our class is about today. And I am so thrilled about this because what this does for you, the agent, is to create boundaries around your time. Our time is everything. That is truly our only limit. And we have to make sure that the way that we invest in that time is going to give us something in return, rather than just reacting to whatever little sparkly thing jumps out at us. So this is what this is going to be designed to do for you. And I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it.
And that part, when you're talking about my expectations of what you can get from me and what I can get from you, because that's usually when I tell them about the time, that's the part that I should be putting in the, and just to let you know, we hope that on the other side, they're having the same conversation, but they may not, you know what I mean? That's a good part for me for that.
Definitely.
They may not sign it right whenever you want to, or may not get back to us as quickly as we would like, you know what I mean? We are moving fast, and we hope that they do, but we have no control over how quickly they move, as long as they stay within the dates allotted.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Bam.
So, bam. So closing in on that win-win relationship. So you guys have gained agreement each step of the way up until this point, and then you do the post conversation, which is where any objections or concerns that may come up, you handle them, you continue to move forward, and then you conclude the meeting with a signed listing agreement. So those are the 5 stages of converting a listing. Let me show you some dialogue on how to transition into this. So this assumes that you talked about the makings of a win-win relationship and what that means. This assumes that you've already talked to them about price and you gained agreement on that. And so now it's time to move into mutual expectations. So transitional phrase to kind of switch them a little bit and get them off of price, because ultimately that's what they care about the most, is what is my home going to sell for? Okay, so transitional phrase, let's switch gears for just a minute. So now that we've agreed on a price entry point, one more thing that we need to discuss tonight, right? So it's been my experience that conflict only happens when those expectations differ. So there again, that's reinforcing one of our key beliefs right there. Ask your seller, don't you agree? Because inevitably, all of us have been in a position where we're like, oh my God, why did that go the way that it went? What could I have done better? This is time to eliminate that, okay? So, perfect. With that in mind, let me share what I feel like you have the right to expect from me in my role as your listing consultant, or as my role as your selling consultant, or my role as your agent, or whatever you want to call yourself, your realtor. So as you can see, here are the things that I am going to do. And these sheets, you guys, are in our little booklets in Backagent. So the listing conversion, buyer conversion, these are in here. I also have them in Word format if you want them with the little logo. So you can modify them and make them your own, okay? So you'll also notice that I highlighted number 5 and number 10 because you're also setting yourself up to let them know there are other things that we're going to break out here and talk about. So we're going to communicate openly and frequently. What does that mean? Okay. And then I'm going to help to market and promote your home in a professional manner. What does that mean? Okay. And those are just 2 out of 15 things that you're going to do for them. Okay. Now, this is what the marketing plan looks like. Again, this should not be foreign to you. You should have seen this by now. And again, feel free to modify this however you see fit. If you do something super cool that not everyone considers to be standard, include that. Make it look pretty. Put your, super precious little logos on them, whatever you need to do. The important thing is to go over this step by step with them, okay? So once your home's listed, here's what I'm going to do as part of my 7-step marketing strategy. So again, just as a reinforcement, you guys have already shared the 7-step pricing strategy. Now you have a 7-step marketing strategy. So it's just value, 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 okay? So it starts with putting the sign in your yard, first and foremost. Yay! Placing the home in the MLS. Take it a step further. What does that mean? All day we hear that, we know what that means, but a seller may not. They don't know what that means to be in the MLS and what the implication can be, right? So if it were me having that conversation and I was on number 2 and I was saying, well, place your home in the MLS, I would let them know that really that is one of the most beneficial things that we can do, and that's part of the value that a realtor brings, is because we know that homes sell for 2 reasons. Price and exposure. Price we've already talked about. Exposure is the other aspect of it. So knowing that we're in the MLS, that's some of the best exposure you can get. Because what we also know to be true is that 95% of buyers are realtor represented. Realtors go straight to the MLS to find properties for their buyers. Okay?
Don't we have like something like 600 agents?
Yeah, I think that number is even higher,
Yeah,
which is
too.
What did she ask?
What?
what, Ashley?
We can't hear her.
She said, don't
Oh.
we have like 600 and something agents in the area? Do you know how many?
I think it's more. I thought it was like
I
7.
think the Beaumont board has like 7. It's a lot.
But not all 7 whatever of those are realtors.
No, some of them are affiliates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bunch, regardless. Okay, so number 3, this is a little bit different. You could prepare color home flyers. That, I could take it or leave it. If you leave it, I would replace that with something involving social media if you're doing a lot of marketing and social media platforms. The whole point here is that this can be modified and should be modified to align with the way that you run your business.
And to me, if you don't include in there our home, why it was important with a RE/MAX agent, then you're missing an opportunity.
Yes,
Because I always capitalize on that. We have 120 agents, at least with our office. We have sales meetings where we announce with them even before this. You know what I mean? The best agents in the area are hearing about it, you know what I mean, right out the gate.
Which is number 5, by the way. Notify the area sales agents. That's a direct reflection on our office and our brokerage, and I think that it absolutely matters what you're saying, and I think it matters too that we're not just in Beaumont, we're in Nederland, we're in Bridge City, we're in Mont Bellevue, and everywhere in between those 2 places, or 4 places. So I think that that's 100% something that needs to be talked about. Advertising the home on beneficial websites, going up 1 to number 4. That's a very big deal because part of RE/MAX, because we are global, anytime that you add a listing into our Beaumont, Texas, Paragon MLS, guess what? Somebody in Peru will know about it because those listings are syndicated, meaning they go all over the place, which is good. Number 6, holding public open houses. Again, ask your seller. Some are terrified of open houses and they don't want open houses. That's okay. Just eliminate it and replace it with something else that's more fun. Whether it's a realtor open house or putting them on a caravan. A lot of times, I can tell you when I moved back and started here, I didn't even realize that they still did realtor caravans. And I love it. It's awesome. And then lastly, number 7, you will notify the area neighbors. This is in the form of a just listed campaign, okay? You can door knock, which I do think that can be effective, especially if it's a neighborhood that you're already familiar with. If you don't want to door knock, then do a Facebook Live, do something online that can replace that activity. You can call the neighbors, you can leave little door hangers, whatever you need to do. The bigger thing though is just listed, get the word out. And I think I've probably shared with you guys before how effective that can be. When we were selling our house in Georgetown, our realtor did a just listed, I think it was like a 2-mile radius around our house. and the people who bought our house lived in a more established neighborhood, like a mile and a half away. Their house was almost just like ours, just like in terms of specifications, but they ended up buying our house and they lived a mile and a half down the road. So that to me is just tangible evidence
Was it
that
just a bigger
it can
house,
work.
or-
No, our square footage was almost identical. Number of bedrooms was identical. I was like, I told Eric, I was like, I don't even know why they're buying this house, but I'm not going to care because I need them to buy it.
Really?
So anyway, plus as a seller, it was really cool because we got a postcard with our house on it. So it was really neat to see our realtor working so hard for
So
us.
she sent it to your house as well?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I've never got to see, you know what I mean, how it is on
Yeah.
the other side. But
Mm-hmm. So again, we've talked about how important it is to gain agreement. You want to make sure that you gain agreement on the marketing plan, just like you did with the price point, right? So after reviewing my marketing plan, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you feel like your home is going to be well exposed and promoted? That's a yes or a no. And hear them out and let them share with you why they think it will or won't be. And then a really good question to ask, this is where you give them some ownership of that process. Is there anything in the plan that concerns you or that you would like to change? And that's where they may say, oh, I don't like open houses. That's just, okay, well, what about a realtor luncheon? What about that, where it's just realtors and they're just coming in case they know somebody? You know, be a little bit creative. Stay in that curiosity mode where no is not no most of the time, okay? So once you've gained agreement on what you are going to do as their consultant in the process, you'll change the focus to what they can do as a cooperating seller. So here's some really good transitional dialogue that you can use. Since this is going to be a partnership, right, because you've established that at the very beginning of the conversation about how it's a win-win and you work as a highly intentional and a highly proactive team, a collaborative team. Since this is going to be a partnership, let me share with you what I feel like I have the right to expect from you in your role as my partner in the transaction. Okay, so it's not just about what I'm going to do for you. Here's what you can do to make sure that we knock this out of the park. Okay. Here, let me get over here so you guys can see it. So this, again, this is in the little booklet. But again, if you need it in Word, I'm happy to send it. You can modify this. Okay. Yeah, so you can put your information on it, which if you're preparing any documents that you're bringing with you for your listing conversations, make sure that all of it has your picture, your photo, like your little photo, your logo, your company logo, your contact information. If that's not happening, you are wasting your paper and your ink. You need to put all of your info on all of your stuff. Okay, so your role.
Can our face on all of it too?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so here's what I expect from you as a seller in this process. So I would love for you to keep your home available and presentable, okay, and neat and smelling nice all the time. That comes with the territory of selling a property. You never know when we're gonna have somebody who wants to see it. Follow the agreed upon staging plan. So when you guys are walking around the house and you're telling them, oh, it'd probably be really beneficial to get these pantries cleaned up, get these linen closets cleaned out, that kind of thing. That's what we're talking about here. Number 3, you'll complete all the repairs that we're going to talk about. So maybe they need a pressure wash, or maybe they really needed to do a thorough deep cleaning. That's what this one is speaking to. Keep the yard mode, keep all your valuables and prescriptions, believe it or not, in a safe place, and weapons. Leave home for all showings. Oh my goodness.
Inspections.
If you're like me though, you just get in your car and go down the road so you can see like how long they stay. Number 7, don't discuss the terms with buyers or their agent unless I'm present. Number 8, don't call other agents for feedback. I'm going to do that for you. Be completely honest on the seller's disclosure. Oh my goodness. And I'm sure that you guys do this already, but number 9 is so very important that you cannot over communicate how much it matters to be 100% honest on a seller's disclosure. If you don't know something, you put unknown.
Yeah.
Okay?
Number 1 reason for lawsuit.
Number 1 reasons for lawsuit. Yes. Yes,
I was
ma'am.
waiting for you to come back, sister.
Yes, ma'am.
Like, don't.
Number 10, keep all of the marketing information displayed and let you know if it's running low. So inform me if it's running low. Market your home to your friends and your acquaintances. People typically do a good job with that
Share it
anyway.
on social media.
Share it on social media.
And share
Share it through.
Inform me if you're going to leave the home for more than a week, just in case you need to go by there and kind of
Because the
freshen
neighbors
things up a
will
little
call
bit.
you if your yard is not staying mowed.
Notify me immediately if your needs or your expectations change. Okay. And then number 14, be brutally honest with me if you feel like I'm not meeting your expectations. So again, is there anything on here that we need to change? Is there anything on here that we need to add? Anything that we need to remove that you feel like you maybe can't do as part of the listing?
We go to, well, if you can't keep it clean and or something, you may not
Mhm.
think about getting top dollar. Maybe you should cut
the
down on.
security code for the
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into the guts of this class, right? This is the communication plan. This can be put on a document. This needs to be put on a document because it should be something that you're going through as part of your conversation. Something that they can put their hands on, something that they can initial, something that lets them know these are the expectations
You
that we're
have that
setting.
word already?
Yes,
Because I need that for Monday. I
yes.
mean, just because I know that's an important thing.
So I know that a lot of you guys are already asking what your seller's communication preferences are. You know, are you a texter? Do you want me to call you? Is email your preferred method of choice?
Making video messages.
Yeah, so I think it's good to include this at the top, and circle it. What is their preference? That's another way that you can exceed their expectations. And I always think about like shift workers. What if you're just constantly trying to call them, and they can't physically answer, but maybe they can text you or they get a break and they can text you. If that was established up front, then don't you think that it would save the agent a lot of frustration and heartache? Of course
Also,
it
know
would.
how much time you need before showings can be scheduled.
Yes.
You need a 2-hour window, 24-hour window.
Totally. Okay, so you'll establish that. Then you are going to set the expectation that you will proactively call your seller once a week. Pick a day. In this case, it's Monday, between the hours of 6 and 8 to go over all of the feedback received the week before from any showings, any open houses that you may have done, any feedback from other agents who've seen it, caravan, whatever.
And then, so let me ask you something, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you have some, because everyone that I've had that was owner occupied, which all of them have been, up to this point, they wanted to, because I had to call them and tell them they're coming, you know what I mean, at the time. They wanted to know right after, like, have you heard anything, so do you still give them just a once a week, like, regroup, okay, we had this many, is that what you'd say? Even if I'm talking to them.
Kind of like a refresher.
Yeah, if you want to know more than that, that's okay. But yeah, we'll regroup and
Yeah.
see. Okay, that's good.
I think so, and I think this is helpful too, because say that you get initial feedback from someone, and then maybe they have a change of heart, and they're like, well, we really weren't crazy about it, but then maybe they go and look at other things, and they're like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then you've got this whole new, perspective and whole new feedback from these same people that you wouldn't have been able to report on right then as it came in. So I think when you're having this listing conversation prior to the listing agreement being signed, and you're letting them know, hey, how I run my business is that I will call you once a week on Mondays from 6 to 8, or maybe it's from 8 to 10 in the morning, whatever you choose, 6 to 8 p.m. to go through all of the feedback that came with your listing and talk about everything that anybody asked me, all the feedback, all the concerns, all the questions, what the market's up to. We'll cover any questions that you might have and any material changes that maybe occurred in the market over the last week. To help you keep track of your questions that you'll have for me throughout the week, I'm going to give you this little booklet. And y'all, when I say a little booklet, it can be nothing more than something like this, like a scratch pad, right? Just something really, really small that you can brand with your stuff on there, okay? Something just like this.
Where do we get those at, probably? This stuff?
Yeah, or like,
They go their own code, but they take a little while to
like
ship.
promotional products, that kind of thing. Anyway, something just small that they can scribble down their questions and any ideas that they have. This is good, and it's another way for you to market yourself and give them something throughout that conversation. You will also outline your business hours. So, and here's, and I get a lot of funny looks, and I even gave this paper a funny look whenever I was reading it the first time, because the perception out there is that realtors are 24/7. It doesn't have to be that way, okay? And y'all heard me say this, I'm sure, before, but Dana Archibald does a really good job of this. Because of where her office is located, it's right by mine, and she will tell her people on the phone, okay, so I'm available for you from 7 to 7, Monday through Saturday, or whatever she says. It's like 7 to 7. Outside of that, normally nothing can be done overnight anyway, so you'll hear from me 7 or 8 a.m. the next day. I'm just letting you know what you can expect on when you're going to hear from me. So that I'm not ignoring you. That's just kind of my downtime with my family, blah, blah, blah. I love that. And that's what this is speaking to. So this is making it a little bit complicated. If you just had Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday or whatever you wanted, the best part about your business is that it's your business. So you can choose what you want your business hours to look like. The most important thing, though, is to communicate them up front with your sellers. You're establishing that you're available for them between the hours of 8 and 6 with this phone number. Okay? So
Really? That phone number you think?
either way,
No.
everybody does this a little bit differently.
Yeah.
On Tuesdays, 8 to 6, you're only available through email. You know, maybe you're only available through email on Tuesdays because maybe you are in a service area or a market area where you know that you have spotty service and you know that you're not going to be able to answer the phone. That's why your email is preferable. Maybe on Fridays and Saturdays, you get a later start. You're going to sleep in, right? You are not going to get started until 10. You're not going to take a call before 10. You're establishing that up front. And then on Sunday, that's your family day. That's your day off. That's where everything else can wait, okay? So I really, really love this little bit of dialogue here on the page that's underneath the business hours. It says, chances are when you call my office, you're not going to get me directly. You're just wrong, right? My voicemail outlines the times which I'll return my phone calls, and I will call you back during that time. This in no way means that you're not important to me. It's just been my experience that if I am constantly answering the phone, then I am likely neglecting my most important task, which is to sell your home. Okay? So if you are on a team, for example, or maybe you're a team leader, this would be a good time to introduce sort of an admin who can take some of those phone calls where it doesn't really matter when they get phone calls or whatever their preferences are. If you're an individual, you stick to it.
Do you think, because to me, this is all I can think of, do you think that there's anything you should be prefacing for, okay, if we do come into the situation where we have a deadline running, like an option period, because I have had some of those that runs out on that day, we'll have to regroup, you know what I mean, on that day.
Yeah, and I think
make a mistake of.
I think how you just said it.
Yeah.
I think you let them know, like, these,
It does
you
not
know.
change time, but we will adjust. as
Yeah,
needed.
and you will hear from me when there are time-sensitive types of things that have to take place. This kind of stuff that we're covering is for all the, well, hey, did you hear anything about it? Did anybody call you today about it? That's what we're avoiding.
No, yeah. I'm just trying to think, because I hate to, not break the rule as needed and then think, well, she gave you that one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of another expectation, I think, at the beginning.
Well, and I think too, so maybe you don't have a day off. Maybe that makes people nervous, and maybe you just say on Sunday you will answer phone calls from 2 to 4.
Yeah.
Or from 4 to 6. And
Yeah.
you just give yourself a window to where it's like you're available 7 days a week, but maybe it's not for a full working day, or, you know, whatever the case may be. But I think that's a really good point. I think you could put like a little star next to business hours and say, you know,
Needed for time sensitive.
yeah, or like if an offer is submitted and you want to let them know that. I mean, or you establish that when those things happen outside of your normal business hours, that you'll notify them by email or by text or by video text or something like that, where it's one way. Either way, the point here is that you need to establish some boundaries and some framework for when you are on and when you are not, because otherwise it's a free-for-all. I mean, they can text you, they can call you, they can email you, they can Facebook message you, they can comment you. I mean, there's 100 different ways that they can invade your personal time. So our objective is just to be upfront with it at the beginning throughout that conversation and to say, hey, listen, I'm here for you and I want to be here for you. Here are my hours. Nobody second guesses your hairstylist's hours. Nobody second guesses the attorney's hours or anybody else's. So why are realtors treated any different, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, now a little caveat, a presentation of counter offers. So in the event that you're in an active negotiation, right? So the offer is submitted, we kind of like it, but we're going to counter back. All counter offers can be made or will be made face-to-face at a meeting unless the seller is fine doing it on the phone, in a text, on an email, whatever the case may be. The point here is to gain agreement. So maybe they'll tell you, okay, so I'm fine with your business hours, but I'm a shift worker and I'm a little bit concerned that I'm never ever going to be able to connect with you because that's right when I work. Okay, so tell me about the hours that you work and tell me where you would feel most comfortable. You know, do I need to carve out an 8 a.m. slot for you rather than 6 to 8 p.m.? Tell me about your schedule and I'll make myself available for you. So this isn't an end-all be-all. This is just establishing the fact that you're running a business and that those businesses have hours.
Yeah.
They have hours. Because here's the thing, it's very rare that anything can be done overnight anyway. So why would you be dealing with somebody at 10 p.m.?
No, and I think like you said, that's good to set the precedent to be even to turn it back like, and I also don't want to bother you during your family time or, you know, what I mean?
Right.
So please let me know when yours are, you know,
Exactly.
waking you
That's a
up.
great point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, just like with your role, just like with my role and the pricing strategy, it's very important to gain agreement. So it's about asking the question. So after reviewing the communication plan, do you feel like you're going to be well informed throughout the process? And let them tell you, well, and that's where they would bring up, well, I'm a shift worker and I just don't know when I would hear from you. Go back, fix it to where they're comfortable, to where you're comfortable, and then you're done. Yeah, have them initial it.
Text you or email you and you get back to me when you are available.
Yep. Last question, is there anything on this plan that maybe concerns you or that you would like to change? So again, it's not an end all be all. It's just framework. It's just those boundary lines that we're trying to establish up front so that there's no question throughout the process. Okay. Now, you can do this after you go through my role, just because my role talks about those two things, communicating openly and frequently, and the marketing plan. So if you went through this part first, then you went through the marketing plan, and then you went through the communication plan, you could do that. Or you could do my role, your role, marketing plan, communication plan. Totally up to you on how you want to do that.
You think, because as I'm listening to you saying this, I'm thinking, man, I also think after it's all done in initial, it would be good to almost like our accountability groups upload it and email it to them. You know what I mean? Like when I get back to the office, I'm going to send you everything that we discussed today too. So
Yeah.
you have a copy if you want to go back.
I do
You know what I mean? And you have it all on file.
I
And
did
yeah,
that yesterday.
Yeah. yeah,
So he had just finished.
yeah.
I think it's really great because it establishes a little breadcrumb trail for you, but also for them. And that way, again, you're all on the same page. Like, you initialed this. It's just good. Document, document, document.
Yeah.
Okay, so verifying value, right? Because now we're kind of nearing the end of this listing conversation. We're getting closer and closer to the listing agreement, okay? So it's very important to make sure that everybody's on the same page before you go in for the kill, so to speak. So once you've finished reviewing the expectations of each role, you've got to ask the question whether or not you guys are on the same page, okay? So Mr. Seller, do you think that we've clearly defined what we can expect from each other in our roles throughout this process? Yes, right, because you already gained agreement. Do you think that they're fair? Yes. So is there anything else that needs to be included on these lists? Shouldn't be at that point because they've already told you. But if there are, then you go back and you make the changes. And then you're good, right? So do you find value in these things? Let them know that, hey, this is not just par for the course when it comes to dealing with realtors. There are key differences in the way that we choose to behave. This is a key difference because the other part, and we're working on an advanced listing conversion course. The other part is, different outcomes that can result from a listing agreement. It's not just the fact that they may not give you the listing, you may not want it, or you may not be able to take it. It just may not align with your business beliefs and your goals and what you do
That
in order to get it
kind
done.
of covered.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to do that so bad. That sounds good.
Yeah, it talks about 3 different outcomes where you can take the listing, you can turn the listing down, or the seller may not give it to you. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it covers a lot of this in further detail on how. And to me, it's just a lot more assertive. It's still focused on their needs. It's still focused on gaining agreement every step of the way. It's a lot more, not even matter of fact. It's just like, here's what it is. Like, it is what it is. So how do you want to proceed?
Yeah.
And I like that.
I think anything that pushes me to work on speaking up in uncomfortable situations is good for me. You know what I mean? Because those are hard to me, even when you want to, you know.
So I
It's
guess
real hard to-
y'all tell me, when you go into a listing appointment, okay, what is it that you bring with you to help you through the conversation?
Whenever I'm going, I usually bring the comps. I like this
Right.
if I know that they have Wi-Fi because the pictures are better than paper. Couldn't have it.
Yeah,
Paperwork. I told you I'll bring the listing agreement, but I don't always urge to get it signed there. You know.
yeah,
Seller's disclosure, needed for them to fill out, get back, even if they are considering, you know, like you said, one of those things of value to me to leave.
yeah.
Trying to think of my head now. What am I thinking of, y'all? What are y'all missing? What am I
I'm looking it up. I don't know. I have it all in
Because I
file.
do all the disclosures later. I may have like the drainage district or things like that, you know, just to
Mhm.
explain some of that to them that are important. But
The survey, I bring it to
the survey.
I bring a before listing questionnaire, a roll sheet for their role, my role, like you said. I bring a marketing plan sheet, and then the comps and the listing agreement and the other disclosures that have to be signed.
Good. So the reason I was asking is because, you know, as I mentioned at the first part of our class today, that those 5 stages of converting a listing, that is a system. And so for me, let me get back to it. I'll show you guys really quick.
I discussed those, but I never would bring and leave them the sheet and have them sign it. I mean, that's another thing I should be doing.
So what I like to do, so you won't have the pre-listing questions because that's just kind of what you take over the phone. You could, if you wanted to, just to kind of recap with them. Any pricing tools, you guys have covered that. I think it's really, really great though, because if it were me, like for message number 2, where you uncover and prioritize their needs, I would literally, in my little folder, have a sheet, and this is what you were talking about, that says 1, 2, 3, that you will fill in, handwrite it in, where you're like, okay, what would make this a 10 plus for you? We know that you want to sell your home, but how can we make this a home run? How can we really just knock this out of the park? So need number 1, need number 2, need number 3. I would have that just as a reminder for yourself, but it's also a very powerful thing for them to see on paper what they want. I think a net sheet is really handy if you can have it on paper or online.
Yeah.
Your comps, for me, I would do 1, 2, 3, the, you know, sold, active, expired, roles and expectations. That's my role sheet, your role sheet, the marketing plan, the communication plan. And then, of course, the listing agreement. So I think that those are little things that you guys could incorporate that would keep the conversation going in the direction that you want it to go, but also serve as a reminder for like, oh yeah, I need to talk about that, or oh yeah, I need to talk about that too.
And this is part of my role, that thing that I made, I forgot about that has the what you need to have to get top dollar. I've now
Yeah.
done that too. It's kind of like, if there's any crazy colors that need to be painted, your yard needs to be kept clean, because I've got that are not.
Yeah.
See my other listing coming up.
Because then you can have that conversation of, you may only get investors. You know,
Yeah.
shake your head.
My other listing that I have, I referred it to Joe. So I went with Joe to the listing appointment. But then she gave it back to me. So I haven't done a listing appointment. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going on for me.
Mm-hmm.
You want to role play? I like that. I made it.
I think that this that you have pulled up on the screen right now, the 5 stages, for me, it's like a lot. It feels like a lot to have to remember. And so I took what you said and I just like condensed it. So like the first thing I put is like tone, which is like
Yeah.
shortening it, strategy,
Mhm.
then expectations, and then activity. And
Yeah.
to me, it's like I can make sure I touch all 4 of those topics.
Mhm.
Like, cause I can remember tone, strategy, expectation, activity. And I could come up with an acronym, TSEA, every time I go into a listing appointment. And I can like remember that. You know what I'm saying? But I like thinking of all these things and I'm in there, to me might be like I'm gonna forget something, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think too, it's kind of like the more you do this, the better you're going to feel about your style and the way that you deliver these things. That's why I feel like, getting them to discuss what their needs are, I think it's really great to have that 1, 2, 3 sheet because it reminds you to even ask the question.
I love that idea. I've never done that.
I haven't either, but I think that we should. And then like you
Yeah.
said, have it on.
Hey, will you go to the one with the office hours again?
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't say this when you put it up, but my favorite thing on that sheet is the weekly update call.
Yeah.
And the reason is because the last 2 listings I have, like, are the one in Beverly Oaks and the one before, one of the main things that they were like this, especially this one in Beverly Oaks, she has something listed right now with another agent who's actually a Remax, but
Oh.
she said, she even told me, she's like, I don't hear from my agent. And she's like, I wish I heard from her more. And so my thing with that weekly update thing is, listen, one of the biggest complaints we hear whenever you have a listing with an agent is that they don't hear from the agent. So one of the things that I do differently from other agents is I do a weekly update call. I will text you before I call you. This is about the time I try to call, and if you don't have time to talk, then we can figure out another time. But this is just to make sure that I'm meeting all your expectations, because I don't want to be that agent that you never heard from.
That's
You know,
right.
You were talking about what sets you apart. How do you push yourself
Yeah.
to do it? That is one of those things.
I did
you know what
that
I mean?
with a lot that I listed because I let him know ahead of time, I'm not licensed yet, but I'm very happy that you want to go with me. And then every week I updated him. Like, hey, I'm just waiting on the
Yeah.
formalities to be figured out, and as soon as I'm good to go, I'll let you know. And then
Yeah.
the next one was like, good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, thank you.
But I mean, if you ever get into a competitive, like you're saying, and that's one of the things I would point out about yourself. A lot of people, like she was just saying, get frustrated because agents may not contact you as regularly. You worry about what's going on. That is not the kind of agent that I am or want to be. I will be on top of it, letting you know, what I mean, weekly or more than that.
Yeah. And depending on the type of seller that you have, maybe they're not just wanting to hear from you once a week. Maybe they want to hear from you the beginning of the week and the end of the week. And they'll be pretty vocal about that, I think. And so I think that's even more of a reason to go through this and just establish what it is that will make them happy.
Yeah.
And the way that you can communicate with them. Again, just exceed expectations.
Exactly. And I also think that it sets the tone for, God forbid, if you do have to have those hard discussions for price drop or things like
Yep.
that, you already know that we are talking, regrouping every week. So we are, you know what I mean? It's just kind of that teamwork
It is.
feeling again of, okay, we're not getting what we want. What should we do from here? You know what I mean? Do you have any ideas? I'm thinking that we may have to, price drop. Maybe you should paint that thing that I keep hearing. You know what I mean? Whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what we're hearing back, but yeah.
I think it's good too, like what you were just touching on, it made me think about, through that pricing conversation, because like everybody does this a little bit differently too, surprise, surprise. But, like with Mark, it's like, I think he says 30 days, he'll do a price reduction. And then another 30, he'll do a price. Some like John Arcana, he's like 2 weeks. If we don't have what we feel like is a good offer, or if we're not showing in 2 weeks, we're reducing it. And like he's having that conversation right here when he's going through price, because that way they're not surprised, or they're not like, hey, what are we gonna do about this? And they will remember we talked about it, in the first 2 weeks, that's when the most eyeballs are on it. So let's just see. And then if we're not happy, then we'll do what we need to do. But it's already established up front so that there's no surprise whenever maybe it sits there longer than what we anticipate. So
Yeah. And it's just like what you talked about in the other pricing class. It gives you that opportunity to tell them that, pricing is not an exact science. You know what I mean? It is an art and a science combined, but we go by what the market dictates. What the market says, even though we've proven by data that this is where we should.
So when it comes to land or acreage, normally that does stay on the market a little bit longer. Almost does.
I can't hear her question.
she's saying when it comes to land or acreage, typically that can stay on the market a little bit longer. And so
Like, what's the time frame?
what's the time frame that you put on there before you talk about a price reduction?
I think it depends on what his urgency was whenever you
Yes.
had that initial conversation. You know what I mean?
What's
Like
the
you're saying,
timeline?
He's okay with sitting there. You can leave it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And feel it.
Well, and I think that with the land, if you have a situation where whatever you're going to be listing has sat on the market longer and you tell them that up front, then the whole thing goes differently. I mean,
Look at the comps and how much days they were on.
Yeah.
like when you run the comps, and Kristen will show you, but you can average and look at the days on the market. And you can see like how many things, and then what's her name? They do that for the board too, like how many things have sold right in the last. Yeah. So as long as you're setting up the expectations up front, like this is probably going to take 6 to 12 months to sell,
Not with the board.
Are you okay with that? You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. So what she's talking about, the board will, they communicate a lot with like the Texas Real Estate School over in College Station. So they pull stats for our area. So
Yeah.
like this many months in this price range, this is how many homes sold in this price range, blah, 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 blah. That is really, really good info, especially like I always think about Sweet Little Suma, her Madison Ridge listing. She started like in the 6s or something, and those have an average time on market for like 7 months. And her sellers were like, what the heck? And Sue was like, I really wish I would have paid more attention to that because I would have told them, hey, in this price range, this is what you can expect.
Yeah.
And that's what Ashley's talking about.
Yeah.
It's in the, like if you go to the end of Paragon,
I
and
think I
right
got that
corner,
in an email where they did
Yeah.
Beaumont and they did Jefferson County.
Yeah.
And
they pull it all.
Yeah.
It's also good whenever you have a range and you're trying to decide like this is the range you're in. Where in this range should we set? If you can find those habits of okay, if you're sitting higher in the price per square foot and the days is longer, you can kind of be like,
Yeah, and he
We've
bought
done
this,
that. She's
he
done
bought this lot last year. And I pulled up the old listing and it was on the market for 180 days.
For how long?
what? 183. Now that
Days?
and that is
Yeah.
good. I always say that under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
Like Blossom sat on for over 100 days, and then we did put it on, and it sold in 3 days.
Yeah.
It was kind of so, but we had expected, like you're saying, that she was blown away. But it makes them think you're a badass when you don't do anything really different about it. You're like, yeah, I am.
Well, are you pricing it at the same thing?
No,
You going lower or higher?
he paid 43 for it and he wants 50 for it. And I mean,
I can't hear you.
He paid 43 for it, but he wants 50 for it
How many years ago?
a year.
He bought it a year ago.
The only thing I will say is that everybody else can see you bought it for 43 a year ago too, and they will throw that in your face. My mistletoe, even though the comps justify where we were at, they still knew that he had bought the house 2 years ago for 170 something. You know what I mean? It hadn't done anything to let it go down.
Yeah.
So just be prepared for that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can still fight it with. It doesn't matter what it. We bought it for then. This
Where's
is
the
what
lot,
market is
Amy?
now.
The back of mine.
It's in Pinewood.
Yeah.
But just be
And
prepared.
it's in
for
Flood
that.
Zone X. It's in the very back.
Okay.
Is it going to stay Flintstone X when they change?
Hey, speaking of, I'm so glad you said that. Thursday of this coming week, so this coming Thursday, Lum Edwards is going to be here at 10, and he's bringing a guy with him, and they're going to talk about changes to the flood maps and flood zones. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that's Thursday.
If they have any information, or can we record any?
I'll ask him.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not going to be here. That's something I'm learning through being in this. I'm not that.
Yeah, I told him, I said,
But
as
it's
of,
important. I
yeah,
mean,
I said, as of right now, your lot is listed in Flood Zone X, but the maps are set to change. So
Yeah.
as of right now, it's X. but we don't know what's gonna
Right.
happen.
Yeah. I wanna know that.
I'll ask him if he wouldn't mind
Look, I
recording
still
it.
wanna meet with that arena girl. I need to, cause I really, yeah, Tara, I don't know her that one. I can't remember her name.
She's
either.
really great.
Yeah, I was impressed just by even hearing her speak, because she's so super
Very
funny. Yeah,
knowledgeable.
and I've only heard good things about her, and I
She does
really
all of our
intended to switch my personal stuff over to her, even though I'm friends with my insurance agent. But she's like, she seems more proactive, like you're talking about, than some that I've seen, and I like.
I gave a client her and the guy Jonathan Davis from J.S. Edwards and Sherlock, and it was the Boyd family and that Louisiana family, and they called both of them, and she was awesome, and they loved her and explained they were one of those people that wanted to buy private flood, and she did an awesome job explaining everything to them. And long story short, I ended up realizing that we know a bunch of mutual people, me and Tara. So, but she's really been great.
You can't not respect somebody like that is so, you know what I mean, like knows what they do top to bottom, and can, like you're saying, can thoroughly explain it to your customers. You want it, I mean, because to me, I would rather send them to somebody that I know every time it's on their game, you know, than they just not answer or just half-ass it, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's when we recorded.
Hey, speaking of Jonathan Davis, he is no longer with J.S. Edwards. He took a job in Houston, so that's why Lum is going to come with, I think the guy's name was John. But anyway,
Is Lum one of the owners?
yeah.
Okay. I know the Sherlocks. I don't know the Edwards.
Yeah. And then also on Tuesday afternoon, Christine Pervan with Mid-America Mortgage, she's going to come and do VA Loans 101. So that's going to be good. And then,
She said she doesn't know anybody. That blows my mind. She knows literally everybody in the world.
What?
I said, you said you don't know Lum, and that blows my mind. You literally know everybody in the world.
I think I've met them, but I don't really know them.
There's like 3 people like, oh, I know Ashley. Oh my God, there's Ashley. I'm like, damn, who does this girl not know? She literally knows everybody.
Hey, I get around.
Y'all have any more questions on anything that we went through today? Did y'all like it?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we still on video?
Yeah, we're still on video.
Can you cut the recording off?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I want to tell you.
Oh, no, that's after I said it was like, I was like, damn, I'm
Yeah. Hang on just a second.
I'm just saying that because I want to say something, but I don't want it to be recorded.